Good evening. Looking for a Mr.
Werner.
Any ideas?
This is fun!
Survival.
This is what you need. Just on to the next one.
You need to lose those stocks.
Yep. So, 1-1. And again, Dreamland, like it sounds good, except if you're getting off the stage need at 80, you're gonna.
Vidjo doing a little turnip tech there. Vidjo was one of the first people to popularize doing an aerial and dropping a turnip, calling it a Vidjo drop or a V drop, I believe, back in the day. And Mango popularized everything that he ever does forever.
So you ran away and you were living with this person?
Yeah, so like I started talking to them when I was 15, and like at the time, like I was just super miserable at home, needed a way out basically, and they offered me a way out. They were like, hey, do you want to move in with me and my friends at this like big house and like just like pursue your dreams, because all I want to do is art. I'm like, okay, cool. So I just like dropped out of high school. I just ran away with them. Like my family and stuff, they talked to my abuser and they were under the guise that it was like some sort of internship or something. So that's how my family stayed out of it. But like my family's so aloof with me that they really don't give a shit about what I do. So like that's how I got away with it.
The first house, the first sky house ever, is Armacost. That's like the big one. This spanned from 2014 to 2015. It was like a 5-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,500 square feet, but that's only because we turned rooms into bedrooms. There was like 24 people. This is the house. This is the layout. Right here, Vidjo and Jackie is an important one. Zero and Beard Guy is someone that Vidjo brought in randomly when they moved in all three of them together. There has never been another time in the history of any sky home that a miner has lived in my home. That miner was Jackie, or Jisu as I'll refer to her as. It was a staggering amount of people, but of course it did not begin this way. As time went on, more and more people came over to play, and we would drink and play games, and one way the idea people would be like, hey, like, can I just like move in? Like, is that cool? Like, oh sure, move right on in. A never-ending Smash Fest, just sprinkled a bit with League of Legends. I would like to move along to a situation that I have yet to speak about in any public setting, and that is Jisu and Werner. This might be the most vile situation in the history of the Sky House. I was going to surround this video around the victims to give them the proper attention and voice they deserve, but this one will be different, because never in my life will I ever meet a human worse than Werner. First and foremost, we as a collective failed Jisu. She holds 0% blame for literally anything. Her life was destroyed by that man. I want to talk about why a minor was even in my home to begin with. This was because she was not disclosed as a minor when she had entered the house. Their room was on your immediate right when you entered the house, so they didn't have to go through anyone's area to get settled in. Zero would troll her on occasion with something lewd that would send her out of the room and down the hallways from his patented laugh while she kind of stormed off. I've only seen that in person once. I noticed that she looked young, but what captivated was how absolutely incredible her art was. My eyes were absolutely glued to her art. And if I'm speaking honestly, in my head, I'm aware that she's young, but I'm thinking, well, there's just no f***ing way that he just brought some child in my house to work with her. And obviously, I was dead wrong. It didn't take long for the house to discuss it. During downtimes, all of us would crowd around this small living room and just shoot the shit. Jackie comes walking by randomly and says to us, "Hey," and walks back. I don't remember who asked, but somebody directly asked, "Hey Jackie, how old are you?" 16, nervous about saying it. If yikes had a face, we all had it. As for me, I was blown away in my life that she was that young and that fucking good. Mind you, I had lived with Lauren and Melissa, and no offense to them, but Jackie, goddamn. I even wrote, she's literally the second coming of Christ. Her artwork was insane. I didn't visit the room enough to know the sleeping layout, but when I figured it out, that's when I started getting extremely concerned, because she and Werner were sleeping on the bottom bunk of that bed together. I would go visit Jackie in her room to see what she was doing. She'd be working on this 3D program, reading guides, and trying to animate faces and bodies for a game they were working on. I asked what she was doing. Werner answered and said that she was learning a 3D program because they needed it for the game that they were working on. I asked, why don't they just hire someone that already knows? And he answered again by saying she's a genius and she could figure it out super fast, which Jackie happily agreed. But I didn't like that. Werner answered for her and it felt controlling. When Jisu was alone, I asked if she ever thought about making art for her own brand because I think she'd be insane and she would pop the f off. That excited her. But this is where the abuse took full form. Because when she expressed this to Werner, it wasn't met with the same enthusiasm. The next I saw her, she told me to mind my own business and stop trying to trick her into not working on that game. I'm thinking, that's abusive as fuck. And that's when it clicked. That's abusive. He's abusive. He's abusing her.
He made sure that I was isolated from everyone else in my life. Like when we lived there, he immediately from the bat, like when we once we moved in and got to know everybody, he told me behind everyone's back, he's like, "Hey, I don't like these people. Don't get close to them."
But before I could confront Werner about this, he sent me a message with a request. Jackie needs proof of residency to enroll in school here. She just needs you and her parents to sign a paper that says she's living here for the school year. One of my friends I showed this to said that I'm stupid for being tricked by it, and he's absolutely right. But I wasn't going to let that get rid of my suspicions. So right after, I directly asked Werner if the two of them were sexually active. And I said, okay, before I do this, I need you to be honest with me for real. Like, no judgments, but are you two sexually intimate at all? And he says, LOL no, is his response. LOL no. People keep telling me in the chat to just refer to his name as V. Okay. Or okay, yeah, you're right. That's fair, and you're right. After that was signed, that was the end of my access to Jackie and V for a bit. Things were a bit more closed off. Their door was closed, they put up curtains, and it was much harder to get in their room to just chat. Jackie was standoffish to me, which she had later said was because that V convinced her that I was literally evil, and only there to distract her from the game that we were making. During the time where they had made their room more private and accessible, something they did was put a blanket between, like with a wooden staff. I know that where they came from, things were consensual, so even though I was convinced she was being abused, I wasn't smart enough or strong enough to take definitive action, especially because we didn't have proof of their sexual activity yet. Until finally one morning, D1 was sleeping on the top bunk adjacent to V and Jackie. One morning he was woken up suddenly because the wooden pole was moving enough for it to shake and poke him a little. He says, "Sex is such a great alarm. If you ever need to wake up, count on morning sex sounds. The sweet sound of a condom wrapper slowly opening." Now this makes D1 look like a creep or a jerk, but no, D1 was livid. This is how D1 typed when he was mad, and he was pissed. He waited until it was safe, got out of his bed, immediately grabbed me from what I was doing, took me in my room and a few others and told me. I was pissed, Lauren was, everybody that knew that was mad. I don't know if it's because V felt the hot seat or if they had planned on doing this all along, but one day they left the house. I believe they were going to Ohio, but I don't really remember. They had talked about moving in with MVG, a mansion that King was talking about. I was pissed. I was like, what the man? Like, I was messaging V, I was messaging King, I was messaging her, and she gave me the most satisfying responses. But I was so angry. I was angry at a lot of things. It was like, you're just gone with this dude.
Oh, we're just going in. All right, no 2-minute hand warmer for King.
King and Digit playing red team, looks like.
Yep. And oh no, Sheik without her jump. That's gonna be the Hedgehog. That's fast, dude. 15 seconds, not even.
It looks like Toro's opted for Sheik. I don't know if I've ever seen Toro.
Neither have I. All I know the name. I associate the name Oro with Sims.
He is of Marth Main, and he plays some spaces at Vote, but like mostly friendlies.
Alright.
Alright, back here.
This person, when we ran like this business together, that's another reason why I stayed with them for so long.
Tipper there from Vigil.
Shouldn't have even connected.
Oh, and the tip. Whoa! Off he goes. Sorry guys. Got a little bit loud.
A lot of fun.
That was
stop and stop drop.
Interesting. Bit of movement there. So it's a. Here we go. Let's see what type of combo we can get. Nice fall on him with a nair.
Got some damage, and he has
Oh, he read the roll. I hate when they read the roll back, but just like misplace their dashes or their dash dance.
Vidjo running all the way across for that very ridiculous looking forward smash. Wouldn't have even tippered, but it would have been funny. We'll give him that.
Would have been fun. Oh, nice forward tilt.
Yeah, those walking forward tilts are so good. Again, unlike forward smash, forward tilt starts low, swings out. Forward smash starts high,
Yeah.
and swings down.
down to it, he refused to like split anything evenly with me, and that even included like all my artwork, the money, like the resources, like the inventory, all of that. He insisted that it was because of him that I was able to do everything that we had done. And I was like, that was the last straw. I was like, okay, this guy is a piece of shit. Like, I can't believe I trusted him. That like, you know, he's finally showing his true colors. And like after years and years of being like quote unquote best friends, you know, it's hard to erode that. You know, like he made sure that I was manipulated into not telling anybody about anything until I was legal, so that he wouldn't face any like actual legal repercussions. Which again, like I want to say, he knows the line. Like he knows that if any of this got out, if there's any proof of him doing anything while in the minor, he's fucked.